I mean, having spent quite a bit of time around you and Reynor, I think that it's clear the bond goes really deep there. And I think, at least it seems to me that, he looks to you as a, whatever, an elder figure who has a lot of experience and a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, I said that before once. He called me, he's like, you're a bit of a dickhead, but you're also a role model, so I need to hear your opinion. I was like, oh my God, this is the weirdest thing to ask. But no, it's good, it's great to get along well, right? But over on the StarCraft II community, we have so many friendly people that I think you'll always find good friends, like whatever you're looking for.
StarCraft is a freaking hard game. When you look at where you are and then where the very best are, improving can start to feel like an impossible task. But it doesn't have to be this hard. Enter Ladder Legends. Ladder Legends is a dedicated academy aimed at helping you understand, enjoy, and improve at StarCraft. More than that though, Ladder Legends is a community where StarCraft gamers can get together, make new friends, and dive deeper into the game with them. With incredible coaches and talent like Christianer, Mixu, Gamer Richie, and Tempo, you know something special is happening here. The folks over at Ladder Legends have big plans too, and aim to expand their services into other games. Potential titles include Apex Legends, Valorant, Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, and more. Join their Discord to let them know what you want to see out of them. And if you only care about StarCraft, join their lively and active Discord anyway by clicking the link in the video description or by scanning the QR code on screen. If you care about this channel and the other endeavors I have planned within the StarCraft world and beyond, check out Ladder Legends and consider supporting them as they are supporting me as the sponsor of today's video. Hey, SE Historian here. When I started this channel with the goal of sharing the stories of my StarCraft heroes, I, of course, had a list of names in mind. A list of people who, if I could work with, if I could sit down with and capture the moments of, I would feel I have truly done something of substance within this community. RotterdaM is, of course, one of those names. Kevin, though, has become much more than that to me. Over the last few years, I've had the honor and the pleasure to really get to know him, to see how he operates behind the scenes, and to make a friend out of an idol. Sitting down with Roddy for this piece is a moment that will stand out to me as one of the most special of my entire StarCraft journey. From his early WarCraft days, the GOAT debate, to the future of SC2, we covered a lot. If you enjoy what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the video description. With that out of the way, let's jump in to my word with RotterdaM. So, Roddy, thank you so much for taking the time today, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course, that's what I'm here for. You've been asking me for a while, so let's do it. Even though the conditions could have been better, mate. It's a little warm over here. You're sweaty, I'm sweaty, but let's have some fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you're one of those names that looms so large within the community, so I think like you're one of those guys with the stories and the experiences that people really want to hear and insights on the scene. So I think it'll be a really fun piece.
I'm gonna do my best. It is day 3 at the Home Story Cup. You know the days are long here, so I feel the brain activity is maybe a bit lower than what it should be. But let's have some fun.
So starting off with something nice and simple. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Hoogvliet. Hoogvliet is basically a part of Rotterdam. Like we share the same mayor, but it's also an independent city, so it's county of Rotterdam, connected by the metro. So I used to say that I'm from Rotterdam, and I was technically born in Rotterdam. Like I'm born next to the Feyenoord Stadium, which is why maybe I love the team as well. But my parents grew up in Hoogvliet. That's where my dad used to have a bar. First I lived above a bar for like 1 year. Then they got a different place, like 1 kilometer away into the central area. And that's where I went to elementary school, that's where I went to high school, and basically spent the first 18 years of my life, or even a bit more actually, because I moved again, but still within Hoogvliet, and it's a relatively small town. So I think until, basically from 1987, the year I was born, until the year 2010, I lived in Hoogvliet.
Did your family still operate a bar?
No, they stopped it a long time ago. That's something they enjoyed. Like my dad was always like kind of having his own business. Later, did a little bit of a car business, but I think that always sparked less joy. I think he really liked the bar life, but I think especially if you get older, you've got kids, it was just hard to manage, I think, for my parents. My mom obviously used to work in it as well, so it was just a family-run business. Super fun, great memories, and I think they look back at it as a very fun time as well. They had different bars first, one all within Hoogvliet area. But no, eventually they moved on from it as they got older, and they didn't feel like they should be being in a bar anymore until 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's definitely a business that waxes and wanes on you, like food service and other things like that as well. I mean, makes sense. So what about your hometown, but technically not your hometown, inspired you to, make it your ID?
I mean, that's a long story, and I've shared it a few times. The TLDR of it is when I first started playing games, I didn't really have a nickname. My last name is Van der Kooi, and there was a Dutch TV show where there was one old man called Kooiman, and then there was another dude in the show who was a bit of a stutterer, and he would always say like Kooiman because he couldn't really speak properly. My friends said it was really funny, so they were always calling me Kooiman instead of Kevin or Van der Kooi. That was my first online nickname. Through Battle.net, I met a couple of WarCraft 3 friends. And one day when we were all playing in Europe, they said like, let's go to the American server and let's all make a new account and call it after the city we're from. So one dude was called Amsterdam, the other one was called The Hague, one dude was called Monster, I believe, and I named myself Rotterdam because, I mean, Hoogvliet, I felt more like Rotterdam, it was more appropriate than Hoogvliet, and Hoogvliet is a bit lame in that regard. So I went with Rotterdam, we played some 4v4s, did okay, and then I played some 1v1s, which I tried many times, but I was always losing in the beginning because I wasn't very good in WarCraft. But on that account, on the American server, for the first time ever, I think when I played 10 1v1 games, I actually won like 6 or even 7. So I was positive and I was like, wow, like I'm good at this game, and now I'm known as Rotterdam. So this is like 2002, 2003. And then I went back to Europe and also called myself Rotterdam because I thought I was relevant. I was like, I want games on the ladder, so I'm stuck with this nickname, and that's how it all started.
That's hilarious. I love that. So, what was your childhood like growing up around there?
Say again, sorry?
What was your childhood like growing up around there?
Honestly, I think very standard for a Dutch kid. Like, as I said, Hoogvliet is relatively small. Like, you can walk anywhere, basically, at any given moment. It will take you a little while, but especially if you're a kid, you have a bicycle, so you can just cycle around. I went to elementary school, I went to high school. I had a lot of the guys that I went to elementary school with, they went to the same high school. A few of them went different directions, but I had a core group of 5-6 guys that I'm still in touch with until this day. Obviously, we all played some video games in the beginning, but there was a lot about sports as well. When we were young, we played football together. I was a really big inline skater, so not skateboarding, but the inline skates. I loved that. So that's basically what I did all day, every day when I was like 14 to 17, 18. And other than that, just a happy little Dutch upbringing. Like, did all right at school, not fantastic, not the worst. Some sports, obviously, like first GameCube, PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, and that kind of stuff. But a little bit of everything, nothing that stands out. Just pretty happy, I'd say.
How would you classify yourself? Are there any young kid stereotypes you fell into, like class clown or nerd, teacher's pet, anything like that?
So it's a bit funny. I would say that my friends were kind of like the cool kids in high school, and I got along with them really well, but I had a few other friends that were like proper gamers, and they were like bigger gamers than the other dudes, especially when the PC era started. So I actually spent a lot of time in high school with 3-4 other guys that were maybe not considered the cool kids, but I got along with them really well because we had a lot of like shared interests, so we could talk about the other things. And then like my Dutch friends, like they would be at a young age already, 15, 16, like, let's go on a holiday to Spain and party. And that wasn't me. Like, it's not that, like, I enjoyed it, but my mom was also a bit protective of me. I have one older brother, and basically he was allowed to do everything when he was 15. Like, he got a scooter already, and when he was 18, immediately a car. And like, he would go on holidays with his friends, but my mom was always worried because I was too small. So even in my mom's mind, I think my brother was bigger and stronger and could take care of himself better when he was 15 than when I was 19. Like, that makes no sense at all. Yeah. They're like, no, he was big, or like back then it was safe. I was like, it can't be that bad 4 years later. But so I would say a mixture. Definitely not the funny guy, or not the coolest kid. Just I was let's say I was friends with everyone. Like, honestly. Definitely didn't get bullied, did not do the bullying. I was just there and I got along with people.
Sure. It sounds like not a lot has changed.
No, maybe in that regard, like in StarCraft II, it's a bit similar. But yeah, that's so I had a lot of like different little group friends. The core group of friends that I'm still friends with. The gamers I lost touch with a little bit throughout history. But yeah, that's how I would look back at it. Like, I got along well. Not maybe was a bit shy with the ladies at a very early age. Like it's more for the other kids, and I was always, I don't know, like looking for the queen immediately. That wasn't really there. So, but just the normal upbringing in high school and whatnot.
Sure. So, how did you first end up getting so connected to RTS?
I would say that started with my brother. I have one very fond memory. Like we had a family house, which in the Netherlands is very standard, where you have a living room and a kitchen. You take the stairs up, and then there's like a couple little rooms. So I had a room, my brother had a room, and my parents had a room, tiny hallway, bathroom, and then there's one more floor for storage. It's very standard in the Netherlands, how a lot of people grow up. And when the PC gaming era just started, like I don't even know the names anymore. Maybe it was Atari. My brother had a friend and was also called Jeffrey. And they both brought over their PC, but we had no place to put two PCs. So what happened is that like on those little metal tables that you could roll around and put a monitor on and a keyboard, my friend's brother came over and they had two PCs literally in the little hallway, so it blocked the entrance to all three rooms. But that was the first time ever I saw people play a 1v1 game on two PCs. A local area network, and Command & Conquer was the game, and I was like, holy hell, this is so cool. So I watched my brother and his friend play like many games in a row, because my brother also went to a PC club and I would come along. I didn't have one, but he had a PC, so I would watch there, and like a lot of them were there for like the science or file sharing, but my brother was like gaming, like who wants to play? Because the internet, like it was maybe a thing, but it wasn't really a thing yet, and gaming was absolutely not a thing. But the local area network absolutely worked for Command & Conquer, so that was my first ever RTS experience, and needless to say, I loved it. It was the coolest thing ever to see literally two computers like turn to each other, one guy sitting on the right, one guy sitting on the left, PC screens in the middle, and like seeing them build tanks and those little motorcycles that went around. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, no, that's so this is what, early 90s?
Mid 90s, I guess. I would say maybe I was like 6, 7, 8, 9 when I saw that. Honestly, hard to remember, but
Sure.
Command & Conquer 1.
Yeah. Got you. So why do you think StarCraft specifically was the game that caught you in the way that it did?
Honestly, for me, it was never about StarCraft. It was more about the world around it already, and that world started with WarCraft 3. I kind of accidentally stumbled upon that. The TLDR of all of it is that I was a kid who had a lot of different intros, and I liked WarCraft 3 through a couple of guys that I was writing articles for a Nintendo GameCube website. I was like a big nerd and I loved Nintendo. I was like, go Nintendo, F Sony, you know. I was like, somehow I wanted to be part of that group, and I was like, come on GameCube, even though they were losing miserably in like in all the wars. I was a strong believer that the GameCube was gonna turn it around. So we wrote some articles, and then those guys, they said like, yeah, we're playing this game called WarCraft 3. So I got into that. At first, I absolutely hated WarCraft. I hated it so bad that this is a story I shared a few times, but I think you'll love it because maybe you don't know it. So as a young kid, I went to this store called Free Record Shop. Imagine GameStop, but then we had a store called Free Record Shop. I went there to buy WarCraft 3, and I looked at the box. I was like kind of pretty. I went home. I took off the price tag, you know, because you want a proud nerd, you're proud of your box.
Yeah.
And I played it for a little bit. But in Command & Conquer, you just have the command chart on the side, right? You just click and then it builds. And in WarCraft, you have to select workers like in StarCraft. And I'm too stupid to actually play a tutorial or read a book, and I couldn't even build anything. I was getting really mad. I was getting so mad that I went into my little trash can, I put the price tag back on the box, and I went back to the store to exchange the game. And I was like, can I change this for Unreal Tournament 2002? That's the game I was looking for. And they're like, sorry, it's sold out. And then I walked back and forth this little stop for like, was in Hoogvliet, in a little free record shop for 10 minutes. And I was like, this is like no other game that I'm really interested in right now. And I looked at WarCraft, I was like, I guess I'll keep it. So I went home. In the end, played it a few more times with the guys on Skype that were of this Nintendo GameCube website. Kind of liked it, but Generals was coming out, and my brother was really hyped about Command & Conquer Generals. But the controls were flipped. Like anything that's right-click in WarCraft is left-click in Generals, and the other way around. I was like, there's no way I can ever play these two games at the same time. So I was like, what do I play, Generals or WarCraft? Then I went on a winter sport holiday in Austria. I had an accident on the last day where I broke my leg, so my shin. So I had a full cast all the way from the bottom up to my thigh. And when you lay in bed and you can play all the games in the world as a kid, you get bored of them real quick, except WarCraft 3. That was the game that I loved. That's when I started getting into it. That's when I learned about esports, like finding a replay website, seeing people have pictures with a check on a stand. I was like, first, second, third, $10,000. Like, why am I not doing that? Like, that could be me. So that's how I fell in love with it. I was like, I want to get better at this too. I want to go to events. And when StarCraft II came out, that was just the natural successor to WarCraft 3. It was really not a, will you like it, will you play it? No, everyone that was remotely good in WarCraft 3, that ever had like a taste of the esports life was like, StarCraft 2 is going to be the game. Let's do it one more time, baby. Let's speak, and we're going to have even more events and hopefully some more prize money. So it wasn't so much about what I loved about StarCraft. It's that I did 5 years of professional WarCraft 3 gaming. Definitely didn't make a lot of money, but enough to like I went to the events. I was on Team Fnatic, which obviously right now, 20 years later, is pretty freaking cool. Since Fnatic is still around. I played against the very best, Grubby, Todd, Moon, Sky. I had a couple wins here and there. So I just loved everything about like connecting with foreign gamers, because everyone was always nice. Going especially to the Blizzard event, because we did have Blizzard events like the Battle.net Invitational in Korea was an amazing experience for me as one of the 2 Europeans. Going to those European events in Stockholm, in Hamburg, in Cologne, I was just like, this is so cool, and I want to try it in StarCraft as well. So that's basically why, like, it was never, am I going to like this game? It's like, no, I'm going to play this game, I'm going to get good. Like that was just it.
Were you surprised that StarCraft took off in the way that it did?
Honestly, I didn't even put that much thought into it, and I think some people underestimate how cool some of the WarCraft 3 events were. Like, I went to China where I had like 30, 40 people asking me for pictures, autographs, like in a blob moving around me. So I already thought the esports was pretty cool. To me, it didn't start in StarCraft 2. Sure. Like obviously in the early success, and then especially that combined with like the start of Twitch and streaming, that was bigger than what I anticipated, but in my mind there was always going to be online competitions that mattered. There were always going to be a couple of big offline events and national qualifiers. So I would say no, because in my mind it just made sense, because WarCraft 3 was already really freaking cool. We had a cool scene, nice people, a lot of people that cared about it, like hundreds of comments on big matches online, on forums and stuff. So I kind of assumed that it would go down that route. And I never really put much thought into like, is it going to be so much bigger? Will people make a lot of money? It was more for me just like, can I continue doing what I love so much? That's the only thing I really thought about.
Got you. How did your family feel about you dedicating yourself to gaming so much early on?
So there was a little bit of friction, I'd say, in the household, where my brother was saying like, I should leave the house more, like I'm gonna lose contact with my friends, like I'm not doing anything. I think my dad maybe got a little bit annoyed at me once or twice, because at a younger age, like especially back then in the Netherlands growing up, like when he was 18, like he was working hard and like manual labor, going to military service, that kind of stuff, and I'm just sitting there, click, 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 click. My mom like really stood up for me. She was always like, oh, let the boy do his thing, because my mom was always worried that like if I would, you know, party or that I'd get in trouble. And she loved the idea of just me being home in my room playing games. Everything is good, safe. She knows where I am. So my mom loved it. And then, you know, eventually, obviously, when I started going to some events, he thought it was really cool. I'm like, yeah, 2008, 2009, maybe there was like less excitement for me in that regard than 2005, 6 when it just started. But my mom was just like, she was a believer. She was just like, oh, let the boy do his thing. Like, he's enjoying it. He's happy. He's not hurting anybody. Just let him do his thing. And why don't you guys focus on your own lives, you know? And, you know, if nothing ever comes out of it, yeah, eventually there's going to have to be a talk where it's like, hey, maybe you should do something else. Sure. But my mom, she gave me a lot of support. But she's like, no, he's good. He's fine. Let him live out his dreams and we'll see what comes out of it.
So what was the moment where your family and maybe friends as well started to realize that you were really succeeding in making something out of yourself within gaming?
I think for my family that already started when I went to like my first ever international event, which was in the year 2005. I finished second in a Dutch qualifier where only the winner would go to China. But back then, and that's something that's still around in esports, tournament organizers don't talk to each other. So we had the second most prestigious event of the year called the Electronic Sports World Cup, ESWC, not to be confused with EWC, but ESWC. And they had the exact same dates as a tournament called Code 5 or Acon 5, I don't know, they rebranded, maybe Code 5 at first, eventually it became Acon 5. So there was a clash, and Grubby, the winner of the Dutch qualifier, he had to choose. And the year before he chose the Chinese event, and this time he said, I'm choosing the event over in France, the Esports World Cup. So I was second, and I was able to go to Xi'an, China, to compete in that event. Flight paid, hotel paid. At that point, I'd never set foot in an airport or an airplane in my life. So the first time I'm 18, I'm going all the way from the Netherlands to China to play in a video game tournament. I think at that point they were like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." And my friends were also like, "Man, that's cool. Like, how was it?" They want to hear about it. And then eventually, when you win a little bit of prize money, or you get a tiny salary at first, but eventually the salary wasn't even that bad in WarCraft. They were like, "Oh, this is a real thing. Like, good luck with it. See where it takes you." And I think maybe for some of the outsiders that like are somewhat related to me or followed my journey but didn't perhaps think much of it, I'd say at first in 2010 when I got the ESL job offer and I moved to Cologne to have a normal job and an office, they were like, "Oh, that's cool, he's really making something out of it." And if that wasn't good enough, then 2012 moving to America to become a caster for NESL, they're like, "America, California, like that's a big deal for like Dutch people." That like Germany is like whatever, like Netherlands, Germany, it's kind of the same stuff. But the moment you go to California, they're like, "So what do you do?" The same thing as I have been doing. So maybe like different phases. A little bit in the early days of WarCraft, a bit more when StarCraft II started, and maybe even more when I moved to the States.
So how did you communicate like what you were doing, especially when streaming was so new? If people asked you like what exactly you did?
That it's always been complicated. Most of the time I just say I'm a commentator for video game tournaments, and then they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, you like the NFL, you like European soccer, and you watch two guys, right? Two teams that are very good." And they're like, "Yeah." "And you find it fun?" "Yes." "And there is somebody commentating, or there are people in the studio doing preview and post-match analysis?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, that's what I do for video game tournaments, just to keep it simple." Because diving into the whole Twitch thing, I go live with a camera, it's all a little bit too much. So. And to be fair, that was most of my job for a long time. Obviously, eventually streaming became very important, if not was the more important thing. And then I just say like, I play video games for a living and people watch me, and they're like, "What, why?" I was like, "Well, because I'm kind of good. I'm not mega good, but I'm better than most people that watch. So they might find it fun, and they can ask me questions, and I can help them get better." And then you see them scrape their head, and like, I guess that's a thing, and then they move on.
Fair enough. That makes sense. So, when did you realize, like, okay, like this esports thing is going to be a proper career for me?
Honestly, I never truly thought that far ahead, which I know is maybe a bit irresponsible, but to me it was always just like living out the dream. When I was young and I was able to travel for the first time ever. Like when I grew up with my family, we did go on some holidays, but Austria and Spain, which is something you do by car, or like you can fly as well, but that's not something my family did. Also gets expensive, I guess, if you have two kids. So the moment that I started like traveling by myself, I was like, "Man, this is really cool, and it's awesome. I want to do this more," because I'm loving the people that I meet. Even Counter-Strike players back then, Counter-Strike and WarCraft went very hand in hand. You're part of a team, like an organization, so you meet other people within the org, and they're all international. I thought that was very cool. But I would say maybe like the biggest turning point was 2010, because like 2009 wasn't much for me in WarCraft 3. There were like 2-3 little events I casted, but you're talking 3 events a year, and if I'm lucky, I got 400 euros for the weekend or something, which was really cool. Like I got to travel, I got to talk about the game that I love, and I got like a little bit of pocket money, but obviously that's not enough. Like all of that stuff is fine if you're 14, 15, 16, even up to 18, 19, but once you're entering early 20s, mid 20s, like you're supposed to get something done. So when I heard about the ESL job opportunity and I got that, that's kind of to me maybe where I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna try to do an awesome job, and I hope they're happy with me, and I hope I can do it for a long time." And at that point, it's basically just like the start of a journey that I'm still writing out.
Sure. So over the years, there's been a lot of pessimism around StarCraft, right? People were willing to sort of say that the community wasn't in a good spot, even when things were really robust. Why do you think StarCraft has persisted the way that it has over all these years?
To me, it's just because it's the best RTS that is currently out there, and it obviously had such a massive boom in the early 2000s that even if 80% disappeared, the remaining 20 is still pretty large. But it's just an incredibly awesome game to watch. For the longest time, there was some Blizzard support, which was really useful. Obviously, over the last few years, that has gotten less, but I think the simple answer is just that there has not been a RTS that has been released after StarCraft II that could truly take the title of like, this is now the ultimate competitive RTS. And of course, not throwing any shade at WarCraft 3, that's still going strong and it's awesome, and the game that I fell in love with and grew up with. And Age of Empires 2 has an amazing scene, but in the last 10, 15 years, there has not been one game to truly decrown SE2, even if they have good scenes as well, and maybe they're competitive, or even doing slightly better right now. There hasn't been that one hype release. To go back to what we were talking about earlier, when I was playing WarCraft 3 in 2008, 2009, I didn't care which races StarCraft had. I barely played Brood War. I didn't even know the lore, and I don't care about what the units can do. I was like, this is a Blizzard RTS. This is gonna be it. And I don't think we've had any game being released ever since StarCraft II came out that we all unanimously looked at and be like, this is gonna be it. We obviously had hopes. We had very high hopes for a couple of recent projects, but there has not been one release to truly take StarCraft II's spot.
So, jumping towards the modern times, over the last couple months, we've had, a huge flurry of events. It's been an abbreviated season, but a lot of cool stuff going on. If the calendar next year, maybe not in this short of a time period, but in terms of the number of stops, reflected what happened this year, do you think that's enough to sustain the interest and attention of the pro scene in the way that we know it now?
It's incredibly difficult for me to answer, and like for someone like me and for maybe some other content creators, you would obviously say yes, because there's still a lot of fun stuff to look forward to. But some of the fans might be like, I'm not that interested. I've already heard some fans say like they really like following a year-round journey. They like seeing points. They like seeing people go from event to event. I don't know if that is realistic, so I think you're gonna have to probably take a step back, maybe multiple steps back. But I do still think that StarCraft is simply too good and too awesome to completely disappear. And then I also, like in the end, I would be happy to see at least like 2-3 big offline events and then one big grand final, because it's an old game. And if you still have that stuff and you still have gamers that can participate for $1 million or if not more, I think that's amazing. But obviously some people are still gonna be like, I miss those days, I miss those days, I miss the Red Bull events, the MLGs, the NASLs, But yeah, times change. It's incredibly hard for me to answer. I don't have a good answer for it. In a perfect world, if we would get something similar, but it's a bit more spaced out, and then you can actually hype up those individual events a little bit more rather than back to back to back to back, where it's all like literally within 6 weeks, and then people are in the unknown again. That's obviously not great. So the amount of events, okay, it could definitely be better. I think especially like a team league, something consistent online that people care about. And there's a lot of online activity, but if it's all just like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, people love following journeys, they love following leagues and something that comes to an end. So I don't really have a right answer. I think as long as there are big events, gamers will be motivated, and some of the fans that love StarCraft have been watching for so long, they'll definitely keep watching. But of course, some people will say like, no, this is just not really worth my time as I'm getting older and I've got other responsibilities in life. I really love following that year journey where if I can't watch for 2 weeks, I don't miss the entire saga of who's gonna make it to the biggest event of the year and who's irrelevant. So I don't know. It could definitely be a lot better, but it can also always be a lot worse. In the end, I still rather have something than nothing. But of course, it'd be better if it was a bit more spaced out and then maybe even some more money shaved off from the main event, and is then distributed for regionals or just like a big standalone stop. That would probably be better, but once again, very hard to answer.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's not really going to be a clear-cut response to that, and yeah, I think everybody across the board agrees that this mega rushed season is not really good for anybody, but ultimately, you're right. I mean, having something is much better than not. So over the course of your career, obviously, you've casted, I don't know, hundreds of events. Is there one that just comes to your mind, you look back on it as like, wow, I'm so happy I was a part of that?
So hard because there were multiple of them. But if I truly have to pick one, I pick Home Story Cup 20 because that was just the best time, like being on water slides with Ben and Artosis and then sitting down at the couch and some of this tournament just working well. I remember stepping into that massive dome and it's super hot inside and you're just wearing your outdoor clothes and you're like, what on earth, where am I? And you're sweating and you're already annoyed because you're carrying a backpack and a suitcase. And then to see it all work out like that and everybody just have so much fun. Home Story Cup 20, I think definitely the most unique and most awesome event that I've been a part of, but there's so many others. I always think back so highly of the WCS Season 3 2015 in Krakow, where Lilbao did win it against Mana in the final, but what an amazing event, amazing venue, just super cool games. Of course, Katowice with Oliver was absolutely fantastic to see that, thinking, like when you've followed something for like 13 years and you're just like, I know what's possible, I know what's not possible. In my eyes, that was not possible. So for him to do that, beyond cool. Of course, the BlizzCon with Serral, the GSL was the world, very special. But I can go on for a little while, and I don't want to do that. So Home Story Cup 20, Water Park, Mike Morheim, Kim Fenn. This is such a cool event.
Yeah. No, surely one that the community looks back on with extreme fondness. So, you've been with Basilisk for a while now. How'd you first get connected with them?
Actually, through probably a mutual friend of us, Dario Wunsch, Shopify Rebellion's TLO. They were active in Valorant, and the folks over at Basilisk had some early activity in Valorant, but they were not very happy with how that scene was being ran and maybe with the people that they met at first. So they looked at other games. They thought of, getting a start and getting their company going, and they were interested in StarCraft. And TLO is very busy, but obviously still knows a lot about StarCraft. So they spoke to him about it, and TLO said well, if you want to know more about StarCraft, I know a guy who's been doing it for a long time. This is all he does. And at that point, I was just streaming and casting only. Talk to Roddy. I'm sure that he's willing to give you guys some answers. So they set up a call. Now, I've had a lot of these calls throughout history, and most of the time it just led to nothing. People that want to pick my brain, how to run a tournament, how to save the scene, how to do things right, wrong, and then I never hear from it again. It's an hour talk, it's a 2-hour talk, leads into nothing. So I kind of thought at first, I was like, okay, here we go again. Very lovely folks, but I was like, I don't know if this really turns into something. But we had a call, we had a follow-up call, we had a third call, and then started running an event for them. And the rest, as they say, is history. But it all started with TLO recommending me to Basilisk.
So you recently signed a multi-year deal with them. Does that sense of security mean a lot to you? I feel like it's something we don't see a lot in the esports world.
For sure, but it's not necessarily a multi-year deal. It's more that I got a different role within the org. My contract was already just 12 months at first, and then I had the choice. After 1 year, they said we love working with you and we love StarCraft, and they gave me the opportunity. They're like, all right, you can do another 12 months or you can do 2 years. And I was like, 2 years, because you guys are freaking amazing. This is the best team I've ever been a part of. So obviously being able to sign with a team for 2 years back then was amazing. Recently I got a different role within the org, which can be seen as a promotion. Some people seem to think that means that I'm going to do so much less StarCraft, and yes, there will be a little bit less StarCraft, but there's still plenty of times for me to do things that I'm passionate about, and obviously earning a little bit more money as well, which means that maybe I can do some nice things in return. But yeah, being part of Basilisk is amazing, but what I said earlier in the call or in this interview is still true. Whereas it's I never worry too much about what is so far ahead, because I think it's so hard to plan in esports. So incredibly happy that I have Basilisk, but even without Basilisk, I still just be doing my best on Twitch for as long as I enjoy it, or try to cast the StarCraft tournaments for as long as I enjoy it. But it is obviously super nice to be working with incredibly kind people that, just seem to enjoy working with me, and that's awesome.
Fantastic. So happy to hear that the relationship is so positive. So, throughout your time, with Basilisk, you've had the opportunity to serve as a mentor role for Yona, for Ricardo, and now for Yoon as well. What is it? What is that like for you to have that sort of, leadership role within the lives of these young superstars?
I wouldn't really put it like that. I definitely don't want to give myself that much credit, and also especially someone like Serral, he was already so successful even before he joined Basilisk. Even though ever since he's been with us, I think his results, his win records might even be higher than before. But I definitely don't see myself like that. I saw it more as I am the one who makes sure that scheduling works out for them and that they're available and that they're happy. And if there's anything else I can do, I will gladly do it. But two world champions don't need me to mentor them. That's absolutely never want to step on their toes.
Fair enough.
So not too much has changed. I was good with Yona before he was on Basilisk. Ever since he's with Basilisk, maybe in slightly more contact, but I definitely would never say that I mentor him. Same goes for Reynor. I've known Reynor since I think he was 12 or 13, and he went to his first event ever with his parents. I love the kid, even though he always calls me a dickhead, and in return I call him a dickhead. But my relationship with Reynor is amazing, whether we're on the same team or a different team, and I definitely don't see myself as a mentor, even though he knows that if there's ever something that he thinks I can help with. And he has reached out a few times over things, sometimes related to StarCraft, sometimes a bit outside of StarCraft. But that would have been happening with or without Basilisk, because I get along with him incredibly well. And at Trigger, I just got to know a lot better through the org. Also super nice, very smart, talented guy. Does not need me to mentor him, but if I can make his life a little bit easier, I definitely will. But No, so I don't see it as I'm a leader or I'm a mentor, but if you ask me how is it to be close to them and be in contact with them, that's freaking awesome because they're really cool nerds and obviously amazing at the game.
I mean, having spent quite a bit of time around you and Reynor, I think that it's clear the bond goes really deep there, and I think at least it seems to me that he looks to you as a an elder figure who has a lot of experience and a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, I said that before once. He called me. He's like, you're a bit of a dickhead, but you're also a role model, so I need to hear your opinion. I was like, oh my god, this is the weirdest thing to ask. But no, like, it's good. It's great to get along well, right? But over on the StarCraft II community, we have so many friendly people that I think you'll always find good friends, like whatever you're looking for, and whether that's work related or just friendly, whatever. We have similar interests. But yeah, I do my best. That's all I can say.
What do you say? What would you say to the people that say Yona's not the GOAT?
Yeah, no. They're allowed to have their opinion, even if it's wrong. It's not a crime.
Fair enough. So is it just the lack of world championship wins for Maru that separates it, or what?
I mean, they're amazing, and StarCraft II has been around for so long that you truly have different eras. And talking about GOATs, it's the same in basketball right now, right? Like, obviously, some people will still say Michael Jordan is the GOAT, he's forever the GOAT, 6 finals, but he also had losses, and his career, like, if you look over the entirety of it, is maybe slightly less impressive than LeBron James. And then you can say, yeah, but LeBron has sucked in the finals, but then you have to look at who he was playing with, right? And then how do you even compare those guys of different generations who had a better support cast? To me, it's not so much about like the world championships, it's the insane consistency that Serral has had. Serral just barely lost for so freaking long. While a lot of the other absolute elite StarCraft II players we've had, whether you think about Rogue, whether you think about Maru, incredibly good, yet nowhere near as consistent as Maru or as Serral. And don't tell me that it's like, they had so much tougher competition. No, Serral would play those guys over and over and over again as well, different events, big money, small money, and it didn't matter. Preparation based, not preparation based. They knew like 6-7 weeks in advance they're gonna play Serral in Gears over the World or in BlizzCon. The games did not look any different than they otherwise would. So to me, it's just the numbers don't lie, and Serral has just won so much more and has been so much more consistent and been so much more difficult to defeat than the other absolutely amazing StarCraft II players we've had. So it's just a numbers game, and Serral's numbers, I think, blow everybody else's numbers out of the water. People have done these numbers, right? They've heard massive Reddit threads where it's just like, hey, okay, like you guys have opinions about who's the GOAT, let's actually put it in numbers. And it's not even like, wow, Serral did slightly better. No, he did so much better. Like, it's not, to me, it's not a debate, but it's always opinion based. And if somebody says like, no, for me it was all about the GSL, and I truly believe that they were so much better there than everywhere else, and if you didn't do that, that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna spend my days arguing with the internet over who is better at the video game throughout 15 years. Like, to me, it's Serral, and I don't think it's that close. And it's honestly, and that goes for a lot of people, also a lot of very high-level players, and also a lot of Koreans in the past where they're like, nah, this is not close. But fans are allowed to have their own opinion.
The face-to-face record between Maru and Serral, I think, is like, all the other statistics are obviously crazy too, but like, it's like if LeBron and Jordan played a bunch of times and, one of them won most of the time, and then you make the argument for the other. That's very, very confusing for me, and you really lose me there. But yeah.
Like, if it's kind of close and back and forth, but Maru at least got 2 big victories on 2 very big moments. It's like, no, there was 1 victory, 2017 WSG. Also one with an asterisk where Ravens blew up the entire army without fights happening, but I don't want to get into balance discussions. But it's okay, that was the first one, a big dub for Maru. But then Serral didn't get 1 back or 2 back, he got so many back. Like, that is not even really a head-to-head rivalry.
I think he was also still in high school during WESG.
I mean, that was before I think he's ever won a tournament.
It was, I'm pretty sure he was finishing high school that year. So anyway, I don't know. The argument is insane for me for Maru. For Rogue, I did a bit more credence, but for Serral, I think it's still a very big gap. Anyway, but that's just my take there. But is there any active pro that you think could theoretically, go for the throne?
If they would have the chance in a hypothetical world where we have 10 more years of world championship, I absolutely do believe that Clem, if he continues the way that he does, he can start rivaling that, because I don't care if you picked in 2012 or 2025. If anything, I think they're still playing at a much higher level now than even during that amazing BlizzCon of, let's say, 2016, like Dark against Beyond. I was there, I was casting the games. They were amazing, but they're better now. They really are. And to me, that's so obvious in all of the little skirmishes that you see. And they were really good with also the limited tools that they had, because the game had fewer skill expressions back then, which also increased RNG and results a little bit. Because if there's less ways to show that you're the better player, there is a bigger chance that you lose to a bad build or even bad spawns, right, which we've seen in the past. But yes, in a hypothetical world where if they would play for 15 years and they keep the motivation sky high the way it currently is, I believe both Reynor and Clem could do that. But then Reynor would also have to be incredibly motivated and bring out big Reynor, not 7 months of the year Reynor where we're doing a little bit of everything, and then 5 months we keep our head down. Like, no, they have to be like all day, every day. But of course he needs to have the events for that, the motivation, the money needs to be there. So right now I think that is honestly a bit unlikely. I think if you ask me in 10 years who's the GOAT, it will still just be Serral, because I don't believe that they'll have a chance to ever triumph all the accomplishments that Serral's had.
Sure. And you don't think Mar winning a world championship or two makes any difference?
He's going to have to win 3 in a row, and then we'll talk.
Fair enough. Fair. I mark those words. If we get 3 more big world championships, tomorrow wins
if
them all.
If Maro wins EWC this year and next year, then you have a real debate. Especially if he beats Serral and that. Yeah, if he goes back-to-back world champion, yeah, we've got a debate for sure.
Yeah. I agree.
But then I still think like the stretch of consistency that Serral had for years, where it's not like, oh, he won a lot. Like, no, he wins like 90+% of his games. It's absolutely freaking unreal. The man doesn't play in anything unless he has an ultra deep run. So even with 2 world championships, I'm still probably leaning towards Serral just because of his win record that is so outrageously high.
You know, we literally hit periods where we got community fatigue because it was like Serral wins every fucking tournament. Like, this is actually boring. Like, because he just shows up and dumpsters everybody. He loses 2 maps out of 14 series. And it actually is almost not fun to watch at certain points. Now the competitive level has gotten a lot better with guys like Clem stepping up. So I think there's a lot more excitement there. But yes, there were periods where the dominance was actually so much that it was actually boring.
For sure. I mean, like, I understand that. I always appreciate greatness in any sport, whether that is esports or some of the other sports I'm watching. Like, I like watching F1 as well, and like, I like Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, as the Americans would say, to make it easy to understand perhaps. And like, yeah, there is a season where he wins 20 out of the 23 races, and like, okay, I love him, and I think this is boring, but on the other hand, it's also incredibly cool. However, I want them to at least fight for it, and if there is like no competition, and I do think that, yes, Serral won a lot of events, but I wouldn't say it was necessarily like a walk in the park where he's never in any trouble. Like, no, he drops some maps and he close games and come down to the wire in unique situations. So I wasn't bored of like him just winning everything, because I did still feel like they were trying and they were pushing him, and it wasn't a foregone conclusion, even if you often knew that it was going to go down that road.
Sure. So when it comes to the Netherlands, it seems like there's been a lot of esports talent that's come out of the Netherlands, like overrepresentation relative to the size of the country, I think. You have like yourself and Grubby and Hearthstone and many others I can't even necessarily think of right away. Uthermal, yeah, exactly, right, yeah. And Loco, right, like all of these different personalities and community figures. Is there anything culturally, like, I don't know, or do you think it's just chance?
No, I think that is just chance. I do think we have a decent amount of people. Like, Netherlands is tiny, but we do have like 17, 18 million people. We've had pretty good internet, I think, compared to the rest of Europe for a long time. So we were early. Cities are very well connected. Maybe the fact that we had some early days RTS success with someone like Grubby, that definitely inspired people 100%. Like, if it wasn't for Grubby, I'd also be like, that's just something for Americans or whatever. Like, it's so hard to get into. But if you see another Dutch guy, you're like, hey, if he can do it, like, then, it's definitely possible for us as well. So perhaps Grubby's or Red's early success in Brood War and WarCraft 3 days absolutely contributed to that. And then perhaps once they see like 1 or 2 other people succeed as a content creator, they'll be like, hey, like that can be me too. Like, for instance, I definitely think Loco has been a big inspiration for like Hearthstone and Uthermal, absolutely, because they see his YouTube channel popping up, they see those numbers, they're like, that's pretty big. So I think it is maybe like they all inspire each other in a way. But other than that, I think it's just maybe a coincidence.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but like, yeah, but I think the internet and Loco also literally said Grubby's matches and stuff were a direct attribution, for
Yeah.
inspiring him as
So it's
well.
like a bit of an effect, right? Where
Yeah.
the chain effect is.
It's a very cool thing, right? Where you end up being the person then inspiring somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, for something actually pretty spicy now, like how do you feel about balance at the moment?
I think Protoss at this point is definitely either too good or too easy to play or a mixture of both. Like Protoss is not that good that they're gonna get free wins, and I'm not even picking a Protoss to win the esports World Cup. But I'm not the biggest fan of the current version patch of StarCraft II. Like overall, the more I think about shield batteries, the less that I like them. Because if you think of static defenses, like the strength of a static defense is like this area is secured. But shield batteries go beyond that. Because like yes, that area is secured, but then obviously everybody has micro. So like even if the static defense circle is supposed to be here, like units can go here, back, forth, which basically covers a much larger area. So I'm really not a very big fan of shield batteries. And I think it has taken some of the fun interactions that I loved in the past where every shot, every volley matters. And now it's just like to stand near a battery, it heals up. So overall, I think Protoss is definitely, I think, a bit too good against Terran right now. Like, Terran is too often to force either all in. But, yeah, some changes have to be made. I don't spend too much time thinking about it. I spend a lot more time thinking about the next event that I'll be casting and thinking about the storylines that get me going and what I get excited over and what I can maybe get other people excited over rather than what I would do to the shield battery. But if you're asking me just straight up, I think TVZ is pretty fun right now. Like, yes, banelings are weak, but Zergs are showing that even without the strong baneling, they're doing okay. And it is, I think, a fun matchup. It takes a little while to get going, but once it gets going, I think it's really good. And overall, Protoss is just, it's at least stronger. So like people no longer have to be so upset that they can never be competitive or win. But yeah, not the most fun version of Protoss ever, in my opinion.
So, what is your realistic dream for what Microsoft will do with Blizzard and with StarCraft?
I would already be so happy if they can just take care of the Battle.net experience for casuals and pro gamers. In my perfect world, we get a global server and some people start panicking and like, oh, I want to play with lag. It's like, don't worry, like you can still play on the current servers that you have, but we get rid of these 3 servers, 1 global server, and then obviously fix stuff like the ladder box that people are not in Master League. They actually feel pride again when they achieve a certain badge. And then hopefully that also just ignites the activity a little bit more, that everybody can get games quicker. Honestly, that would already be a dream for me. I'm not even going to say that I wish I put up millions of dollars of esports money for like a whole circuit and run a bunch of big events and make us go everywhere. Fix the online experience for pros and casuals. Make it a pleasant place again where you don't have to walk into general chat and read about silly stuff all day, every day. I'd be so happy, mate. I hope that one day they'll be willing to have a few people, and nobody's expecting them to have like 4 teams of 10 people to work full time on a 15-year-old game that doesn't generate a lot of money. But it'd be nice to at least keep Battle.net in a good and enjoyable state.
Honestly, I've asked a few people this question, and there's been a very little conversation about actually fixing the state of the game itself. So, yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
It's so important to me. More, because then I believe that people will have so much fun with StarCraft that the tournaments will naturally grow out of it again. But right now, the experience is just so poor for a lot of people.
It most definitely is, especially with the arcade thing right now and compiling and No, that's. I hope to see that as well. So heading towards the end here, when it comes to next generation RTS titles, has there been one that has come up in development that really caught your eye?
Well, I actually truly enjoyed Battle Aces, and I know recently it got stopped, but that doesn't change my opinion of it. I liked what they had in mind. I loved what they were doing. I loved the way that the units sounded and felt. I was generally pretty excited over the project, and I'm very sad to hear that Tencent Uncapped Games has no longer been able to develop. I don't know the exact details. I don't know if they said anything, but I guess everybody comes to the conclusion that Tencent just does not believe it's going to be that successful, that maybe there'll be some success, but they want maybe all the success. So yeah, that one is sad for me because I did really enjoy it. I could absolutely see myself play Battle Aces side by side to StarCraft II, which is a different kind of itch that it would scratch, but still a very fun one. Other than that, like obviously I had very high hopes for Stormgate, but I think we can all agree that it's not really going in the right direction, and it's putting it very mildly. So I'll be honest, I feel like the future of RTS is tiny bit grim right now, and it's tough. It feels like every time, the more time that goes by since a game like StarCraft II got released and we don't have a natural successor, the tougher that it will be. And yeah, I just hope that I get surprised by something that turns out to be so much better than what I initially think it is. But right now, there's not a whole lot, to be completely honest with you. At least not for me. But
If you could give one piece of advice to a theoretical RTS developer, what's something, what's a piece of advice you would offer to them so that they could capture perhaps some fans from outside of RTS?
for me, it's the game is important. The universe and the units is important, and the pacing and the movement and the balance, all of that is important. But I think what is more important for any RTS to succeed is the online experience. You want to truly log into a world again where you feel like it's cool. You have a cool profile. You can customize stuff. You engage and meet friendly new individuals that are passionate about the same game as you. These clients that you boot up and you're literally just alone in a menu until you press a button to play. I don't believe, no matter how good an RTS is, that will succeed in the year 2025. I think gaming has changed, and the experience is so incredibly important to keep people engaged and log in. And I think back of the early years of WarCraft 3, it was so fun to just go online and look at people's icons that they had to truly earn, they had to work hard for it, not pay to win. You had to win those ladder games, you have to level yourself up in a fair and honest way. If not, you lose your account. And that was cool, the chat channels were cool. I feel like these days they're so focused on a lot of things that are very important to make a good game, but we're forgetting the most important thing is that people have fun being part of something. And I feel like everybody seems to neglect it. They seem to think like it's only about making the next fast, crazy, good, high-skilled RTS ceiling, whatever. It's like, what about the experience? Like, you cannot make a game only for the people that want to be sweating over their keyboard for 9 minutes and click at 385 APM. Like, in what universe is that succeeding now magically? Unless you have millions upon millions of prize pool that everybody that ever dreamed of making some money plays it. I believe that they're really neglecting the whole let's have fun and let's create a world that people want to be a part of.
No, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head. I think even like the change from the early StarCraft client to the later, I feel like there was more of a focus on chat channels and community engagement in the early days prior to the move to the Heroes of the Storm platform.
I mean, StarCraft II initially came out and was always going to be successful because Blizzard was so highly regarded. And StarCraft was such a magical IP that it was always going to be successful. But very early on, those voices came like, Battlefield's kind of boring, guys. Like, I want to connect with my friends. Give us chat channels. And like, do you really want that? Yes, we do really want that because that is important. People don't want to log into a client and just be feeded by a still image until they press the play button and then play and get out. And it's like, yeah, but League of Legends doesn't really have this. It's like, yeah, it's slightly different, and League is League. Just because something worked for League 15, 20 years ago, and that's still going strong, doesn't mean that is now something you can also pull off in RTS. I think you need a whole lot more than just a good game.
It's also very impossible to compare, right? In the sense that the whole game is a social experience when you're playing a 5v5 game as opposed to 1v1, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's about what I had prepared for you, Kev. Do you have any closing words?
No, not at all. I hope you enjoyed it. It's fun. It's very hot over here, guys. It's a little bit hot to think. But obviously, it's super fun to be here at Home Story Cup. I think it's amazing, by the way, how many events you go to. You put a lot of time and effort into it. And also, you're always a very positive person to have at events. Like, I feel like you make people smile, you make people laugh, you make sure that everybody's having a good time. You do your best in organizing things outside of just the game, sit down and watch as well. So you're appreciated, Ahmed.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me to hear from you. Well, that about does it.
Let's do it. Wrap it up.
Once again, thank you to Ladder Legends, the sponsor of today's video. Ladder Legends is a dedicated gaming academy specializing in StarCraft at the moment, which has helped people who have been hard stuck break through that ceiling and hit ranks like Masters and even Grandmasters in as short as a month. Be sure to check out their Discord in the link in the video description, or with the QR code on screen. Gain access to replay analysis, a build order compendium, an Ask a Coach forum, an exclusive VOD library, the ability to book one-on-one coaching sessions with top-tier players, and more by subscribing to Ladder Legends for as little as £14.99 British pounds a month. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. Get subscribed so you don't miss out on future releases like this one. If you really enjoy what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the video description. That's all for now, my friends. Until next time.